Okay, going home. As I was leaving work, I texted my wife and offered to cook some steaks for tonight. Initially, she said yes, but then decided that it was best that we go and buy some things at Lowe's and maybe pick up some burgers on the way home. I haven't always been interested in cooking. As a matter of fact, growing up, it was my mother and my grandmother who did all the cooking. I never had to do anything. So I'm not familiar at all with what happens in the kitchen. I think a story that illustrates this point is that when I was in college, I was having some friends over at the apartment and I wanted to feed them, but I didn't want for it to be too expensive. And so I called the wife of a friend of mine and I asked her, what do you think would be the good thing that's cheap and yet will feed about 8 people? And she said, well, spaghetti is probably the best thing. You can get it cheap, it'll feed a lot of people, and it's pretty good. And so she gave me the instructions of how to cook it and what to do and when to take it off the stove. And she gave me a list of things to buy. So I headed to the store that afternoon and I was buying the things that I needed. But when I got to the spaghetti, I noticed that the package said that package would feed from 6 to 8 people. But it was a very small package and it was very thin. And I remember thinking to myself, Tommy alone could eat this by himself. Tommy was one of my friends. So I decided to play it safe and buy 8 packages of spaghetti to make sure that there was enough for everybody. But then I had second thoughts and I said, well, I don't want to overdo it. I mean, the package does say that it will feed 6 to 8 people. So I only took 6 packages of spaghetti. So I got home and I got the water ready, and once the water was boiling, I threw all 6 packages of the spaghetti in. So while I got the apartment ready for the gathering, I let the spaghetti cook, and I would periodically go and check on it. Well, for those of you who know about spaghetti, it started to expand. And it expanded and it expanded. There was so much spaghetti that I was scooping it out and throwing it in the trash can. You really would have to be there to appreciate the humor in the situation. Of course, I didn't think it was funny at the time. I was pretty upset about the whole thing. So I ended up throwing so much spaghetti away to make room for the rest of it to cook. So needless to say, there was plenty of food for dinner that night, and there was plenty of spaghetti to feed me for the rest of the week. I ended up throwing a lot of it away because I got fed up with eating spaghetti. So I learned 2 lessons that day. First of all, that spaghetti expands. And second of all, it is probably best to follow directions if you don't know what you're doing. My goodness.